Hello everyone, my name is Ulysses Cisneros and I'm going to be doing a quick educational demonstration of the hip and upper leg, in particular this bone here called the femur. Fun fact about the femur is that it's going to be the largest bone in our upper leg and as well as the biggest bone in our body. That might be something you'll want to remember. So going ahead and getting started, you'll notice some of these structures actually seem pretty familiar. Let's say the humerus. Some of the structures that we learn from there can be translated over to this as well, as we have a head, a body or shaft, and as well as some articulating surfaces right down here called the condyles. But in respect to the humerus, let's go ahead and get into some more specific bone markings. Starting off at the proximal end, this is going to be our head of humerus. This is what's going to make that junction and connect with our acetabulum and actually articulate within it. Within that head of femur, we're going to notice this fovea capitis. It's a small little depression found right on the center. Moving our way down, we're going to notice this pinched off area called the neck of femur. Around the neck of femur, we're going to notice these processes. This one up top being called the greater trochanter, and this one the lesser trochanter. We do, however, have lines and ridges that run between them, and so this one on the backside is going to be known as the intertrochanteric crest, and then moving on to the anterior portion from the greater to lesser is going to be the intertrochanteric line. As far as bone markings on the proximal portion, that is all. We can now move on to the body or shaft of femur. On the backside of the femur is where we're going to notice this little line running off to the lateral aspect. This is going to be known as our linea aspera. Right below the linea aspera, we have this surface here. This is going to be the back of the knee called the popliteal surface. So in respect to the popliteal surface, we can move this over, and this is actually where that little knee bone is going to be sitting on, also known as the patella. So this is going to be our patellar surface. Moving on down here to now our distal portion of our femurs, where we're going to be able to recognize these as condyles. This side being our medial as it's closer to our midline, and this side being our lateral as it's further away from our midline. We can now call these the medial condyle of femur, and this one the lateral condyle of femur. Those of you who may have taken, let's say, medical terminology may be familiar with this next term, but epi means above. And so above the condyles is where we're going to find the medial epicondyle of femur, as well as the lateral epicondyle of femur. And you may be asking, well, what's this little ridge up here? You'll learn more about this, or I guess learn more about its specific function when learning about the muscles of how it adds or adducts to the body. So this is actually going to be known as our adductor tubercle. Making our way from our medial and lateral epicondyle of femur, our condyle of femur, will now go into this little depression in here. And remember, once again, depression, that can either be a facet, fovea, or fossa. With this being a larger depression, we're going to be calling this the intercondylar fossa. As far as bone markings of the humerus, we have covered all of them. So once again, let's kind of go back through those. This is going to be the head of femur, the fovea capitis, the neck of femur, the greater and lesser trochanter, and remember those lines and ridges that are found within them, this one on the backside being called the intertrochanteric crest, on the front side the intertrochanteric line. Moving our way down the body or shaft of femur, we'll recognize our linea aspera, and that runs off to the lateral aspect of our distal femur. This surface on the back here is going to be our popliteal surface. Down here, this surface is going to be our patellar surface. Down, let's say here, is going to be our medial condyle of femur, our lateral condyle of femur. Above those, keyword above, being our epicondyle, so our medial epicondyle of femur, as well as our lateral epicondyle of femur. Just above that epicondyle of femur is going to be that adductor tubercle. And let's not forget that right in between everything is going to be our intercondylar fossa. And those were all the bone markings of the femur. Thank you so much.